And recording. So then I'm going to turn it over to Annalisa, and I'm going to admit the next person in. I'm strictly your tech person at this stage of the game.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Annalisa, and Patty is also here to help answer questions this evening. And I'm imagining that you guys all have lots of questions. So we have a presentation for you that'll help kind of navigate this, and it might guide some of your questions. You might find that it answers your questions. And then of course we'll have a Q&A time at the end of it. If you don't mind, unless Patty wants to ask questions throughout, then I'll just have you mute yourself just so we don't have puppies barking in the background. I have to admit, you might hear our dog barking at some point, sorry. But I'm presenting, so here we go. So Chris, if you would put up or do a screen share. Thank you. So an official welcome to the Carver County 4-H Therapy Animal Project. This is a growing youth program. We're about 3 years into it, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we move on. And let's go to the next slide, please. And so this is just a little story about our humble beginnings. So the idea began as a little seed, as all ideas do, in the fall of 2016, when my daughter was 10 at the time, Aurora, asked, why can't I participate in 4-H with my animals in any other way than breeding or showing? And I was stumped. I didn't have an answer for her. She had been participating in the pet project. She'd been participating with chickens, and she'd also been participating with her rabbits. And within days of her asking that question, this cover arrived in my mailbox as a U of M alum. And Tanya is pictured here with her therapy chicken. Now, we had silkies, or we were getting silkies, I think it was, anyway, that coming spring. And it just sort of sparked this whole idea. So after reading that article and just reflecting on the idea, this is sort of the seed that began to sprout for 4-H. And we can go on to the next slide. So why 4-H and therapy animal work are a good match? Well, youth can work with their animals in 4-H in another valuable way, beyond simply breeding or beyond simply showing or even the pet show. It supports the 4-H mission statement to learn by doing, right? And that's probably familiar to all of you. This is how we learn best, right? By simply digging in, exploring it, and then doing it. So youth can contribute to the well-being of their communities while enjoying their animals. They can grow relationships with their animals and their local community members, right? So perhaps you know someone who may be an elder or at a senior center or a care center that may enjoy being visited. We can also go to the library. There's lots of different ways to simply be of service, which is that third point. So in talking about the 4-H's, right? So 4-H, we've got our head, right? So while working with one's animal, one has to consciously be aware of many dynamics at the same time, especially the welfare of your animal. You also have to be aware of the welfare of the people that you happen to be visiting and the mutual environment that you both share during a visit. So the second H, right, your heart, you get to share the loving nature of your animal and bring out the best in people. Empathy and compassion tend to rule the moment. And in the process and through sharing one's own heart, your heart grows. And then hands, engaging one's hands by petting a furry creature invites us to be fully present and kind. And then health. Countless studies have proven the value of pets in lowering blood pressure, calming us down. I mean, think about how you calm down as you're stroking your animal, encouraging exercise, and so much more, and just in walking your pet or engaging with your pet. And we can go on to the next slide. So it all began by seeking good relationships. And in my research, I found, you guys have probably all heard about the various organizations that do therapy animal work. Well, in my research, most often you had to be at least 18. Well, that kind of rules out most of our 4-Hers. So until I came across Pet Partners, and they just seem to be a natural match. They've got a great reputation in the field. They allow multiple species, which also is a good fit for 4-H. And we'll talk a little bit more about the 9 species that they do register. You can start at the age of 10, and I wrote 10 plus because you can be any age as long as you're above 10, including adults. Okay, so those of you parents or program or club leaders that may be interested in this, you can also pursue this. And it's also an affordable process for families to work with within a project area. And we'll talk a little bit more about the financial pieces in a few moments. I also sought out a mentor who could help us, and that's Patty. Patty's here on the screen with us tonight. Thank you. She's kind of a therapy animal world rock star. And she believed in our idea from the very beginning. Thank you, Patty. And has kind of held our hand throughout this entire adventure. And then the third organization, and this one is really a little bit more pertinent to those of you who are from the metro area specifically, is North Star Therapy Animals. They're based in the Twin Cities. It's a well-established organization, and you may hear me refer to them as NSTA, but a well-established organization. They update their website with local visiting opportunities. And so that's a great way to tap in and find out what opportunities happen to be available to you, as long as, again, you're in the metro area. If you happen to be in the outstate, you can easily make connections with local facilities that may enjoy a visit. And then, of course, they also provide educational opportunities. They also provide a membership in a professional organization, which looks fantastic on transcripts or youth resumes for jobs. And then it's also an opportunity for networking with other enthusiasts. So I know last night they provided a networking opportunity. Normally there's a picnic during the summer and it's super fun. This year is a little bit unusual, as we all know. And so they did a Zoom networking opportunity. I was working last night, so I wasn't able to do that. And their logo or their motto is leaving paw prints on the hearts of those we visit. So that's another organization that is offering complimentary memberships to youth. Next slide, please.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I have to do something.
Yep.
Hold on.
You gotta let in another person?
Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
1 second. Okay.
I might want to add while we're pausing for a second that there's over 200 people in this, and we have about a dozen youth. Is that about right?
In NSTA?
Yeah.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
210, I think, and we actually go out to 7 different counties, but we are more generalized Twin Cities, but we are in 7 counties around the Twin Cities. So.
Yeah. So Chris, if somebody else is coming in, maybe we could just have everybody share their first name and what county they're from. So I'm Annalisa. I'm here in Carver County. Amanda, would you go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Amanda, and I'm from Shoreview, Minnesota.
Sure. What county is that?
I'm not quite sure. So I actually do stuff with Hennepin, but I know I don't live in Hennepin.
Yep, that's okay. Yep, just which county you're participating in 4-H. That's great. Thank you. And Lyle, would you share?
We're in Hennepin.
You're in Hennepin? Okay, thank you. Emily?
I'm in Hennepin County.
You're in Hennepin. Thank you. Maisie?
Can you see so she can hear it? Meeker County. Meeker County.
Meeker County. Okay, great. Thanks. Peter, what county are you in?
Thank
I'm
you.
in Hennepin County.
Lauren?
Lauren's in Hennepin County.
I think
missed who
Peter might
said that.
be in Carver. Peter, are you in Carver County?
I think I saw him nodding his head.
Okay. I
Okay.
think so. And
Sorry,
I
we
recognize
moved
I
on.
recognize his
Yes,
name.
we're Hennepin County.
Okay. You're Hennepin. Okay. Lauren, what county are you?
I'm Hennepin.
You're Hennepin. Okay. And Carl?
I'm Gabby and I'm here with my parents, Carl and Martha, and we're in Hennepin County.
And I was
you.
Emily from Hennepin County's kindergarten teacher. I recognized her.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you,
How fun is
Gabby.
that?
Thank you. I know it's tricky when all we have is the name on the screen. Okay. Thank you all for sharing your county. Okay, so we're spread out a little bit, and that's fantastic. So we'll head back over to our slides. We should be on slide number 7, history, if you
Oh.
don't mind.
No, sorry, back up.
That's okay.
Okay, there I am.
Very good. So yes, in our first year, which was the fall of 2017, and then moving into 2018, we kicked off this new project area. Patty guided us through trainings, testings, and community connections. So you might have noticed on your handout that there were some training sessions for small animals, for dogs, and then also for llamas. Those are the trainings that she's talking about. It's going to be a little bit different format this year, simply because we are dealing with these restrictions. And so Patty and I'll have to talk about how to set those things up. And then the testings were held at the 4-H building here in Carver County. And then also she helped us reach out with community connections. We trained a larger group of youth in what to look for in their pet, and then helped guide them to see if they would be a good fit into the therapy animal work. We opened it up to Scott County just to get the word out further. And in that process of all of that, we registered 2 rabbits, 2 dogs, 2 llamas, and 5 youth and 1 adult. Okay, so we can move on to our next slide. And then in our second year, we had 7 youth interested in the program, along with their cats, guinea pigs, rats, and llamas. Of course, we're continuing to grow the program for Carver and Scott counties with more youth teams and more community outreach. And then we connected with NSTA, and that was when we really launched with NSTA and being able to connect with the different opportunities that there are to visit. And then our goal was also to expand the 4-H requirements for youth and therapy animal requirements for the fair. And we'll talk about that a little bit more too, so you understand what the expectation is for that. All right, in our third year, of course, that's this past year, everything was impacted by COVID protocols. We were hoping to work on developing a video documentary to share with pet partners and the broader 4-H community. We're working on slowly writing some curriculum on the project area to expand, again, more broadly. And of course, we'd love to have you join us. And then so technically, we're rolling now into our 4th year, 2020 into 2021. And of course, lots of things are still somewhat on hold simply because of protocols as they stand. So the 4-H requirements for ribboning at the fair, and this is going to be new to a lot of the folks at your fair. So Meeker County, Hennepin County, youth will produce, or we ask that youth will produce an educational board exhibit for the county fair. Youth can submit their project into one of 3 categories. Okay, so the first category is exploring animals, and in this, that's if the youth wants their project to be judged on the animal aspect. So it's really about exploring your relationship with your animal. Okay, if you want to submit it in the health category, like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of science that points to the benefits of working with therapy animals specifically, or working with animals in a therapeutic way. And so if you want to highlight that human-animal relationship, that's why it would go into the health category. Okay, if you want to do a any of these can go into a self-determined if you've already filled up your other categories with other projects. Or if a group wants to participate, or you want to do it with a friend or even a sibling, then you would put it under the self-determined category. All right. And additionally, you can create a video project if you'd like, and then it would go under either the photography and video project or again under the self-determined category. So those are the categories that you would create your project and then be able to plug them in. Okay. And we can move on to the next slide. So for example, at the Carver County Fair in 2018, Aurora presented her project to the judge there on becoming a therapy animal team. That was the theme of her project. And in that first photo, the judge is listening attentively. And then in the next photo, she was thrilled to be awarded the Reserve and Grand Champion in the Exploring Animals category that year. She had 2 different projects. One was on raising silkies, and then the other was becoming a therapy animal team. Since she got the Grand Champion, she was awarded a trip to the state fair. We can move on to the next slide. And so she brought Blue to help her with her presentation. And that adventure entailed hiking across the fair with the stroller. You can see that in the left photo. And you might also see Blue is inside of his carrier, and there's a silk covering it. Of course, it's in August and it was very warm. So we had him covered over, in part because rabbits are prey animals, and we wanted to reduce the impact of all the influx that was coming in for him. So he's covered in a silk, and we also had to acquire a special permit to be able to bring him into the fair, because we didn't go through the normal 4-H channels, right? When you have an animal that's going to the fair. So the judge found Blue captivating, and Aurora and I got a taste of what it would be like to go on an official visit, and with all the logistics involved that would help to make that happen. She got a blue ribbon on that project. And then, of course, the ripple effect from that is that Aurora had hoped her project, that was her sole intention of going to the state fair, was to help other people understand that this is a project area that they can participate in with their pets. And in this photo, you can see Patty was doing some therapy animal work at the fair, because there happens to be an area back over by the dog demonstration area where the therapy animals are invited to come in, and people can come and pet a variety of animals and kind of just get their zen on with animals at the fair. And Patty had found the project and snapped this picture. We can move on to the next one. So future project goals for this area is to visit and share animals with many local organizations, right? Also to grow in confidence and in leadership, right? Those are important things, both as an individual and certainly as a 4-H student. And then finally, to help others start therapy animal projects across the state of Minnesota and ultimately across the country. Okay, we'll jump on down so you can get a picture of our youth and some of their animals. So CJ is a senior from Shakopee, and this is, I think she's in college now. And she worked with Lily, her 7-year-old, 8-year-old now, probably Cavalier. She was the president of the Canine Academy for Scott County, and they competed together in agility and showmanship. And Lily was a very sweet little Cavalier that that CJ would bring around to various locations and visit. So she felt like therapy animal work was the logical next step in her work with Lily. And here's Kirsten and Zoe. Kirsten is here in the Carver County program, and she works quite diligently with the llama program specifically. I think she's been there for over 7 years, and they've been a team for over 2 years. Kirsten commented that she had bonded with Zoe very quickly. She says she trusts her and that they work really well together. Zoe's really laid back, super friendly, and is genuinely curious about what people are doing. And Kirsten became interested in animal therapy to spend more time with her llama and to share her with others. They have since done quite a few visits with a few different locations, an adult day program. They visited a nursing home, and there's a photo further on that you can see that. And then also bringing Zoe over to a youth program. And You think, well, what else? What are all of the logistics involved in transporting a llama? Well, they just put down the back seat in the back of their minivan. Zoe climbs right in and off they go. So it's not always as complicated as you think. Now, I know that most people here have dogs, but it's possible to do with a llama as well. All right, can move on. Here's Aurora and Blue. So Blue is a little lion head rabbit, and he's kind of this lovely, like his name says, blue-gray color. And it was Aurora's dream to really volunteer at the libraries, and she has since become certified with the Read With Me program, which is another program I'll have Patty talk about a little bit. In fact, Patty, do you want to take a moment to chat about that right now?
Sure. So the READ program is about 4 hours online now because we're doing everything. It'll be in the spring sometime. You don't have to already have passed a test or do anything. It's free for 4-H kids because Annalisa and I worked out a special deal. Everybody else pays $69, and then online we're charging, I think, a lot less, $49, I think. So, but it's free to any 4-H student that's interested in this program and going through it with their animal, not just interested, but actually have an animal and they're starting to train it. So, and you can get certified in a national program, Reading Education Assistance Dogs. There's 2 teachers in the state. I'm one of them, and my friend Connie and I co-teach this. And parents, if you're educators, it also goes for continuing education credits if you're a teacher. Because and the kids online like this, it's fine. We had some kids in our last one. We had about 20 people, I think, and some people from out of state because they can do it because of Zoom. So we'd like to welcome you if you're interested in reading at the libraries, schools. We are doing virtual reading. We just are starting a program in the Minneapolis schools. I don't know if you remember, but you guys in Hennepin County, the East Lake Library burned down and they're not going to rebuild that one. They don't have the money for it. And then another library got damaged, and it'll take about a year before they can fix it. So we're in schools with quite a lot of diversity. We're just doing the pilot in December, and we're going to open it up to NSTA members only. And we'll be reading in December with different kids in different schools that their public libraries were trashed or burned down. And we're also going to be doing a book drive, outside book drive by June, probably before the kids leave for the summer, so they have books at home. So there's this whole huge thing of reading to these poor little kids in Minneapolis, and we're all very excited about that. So you could take the Read workshop and help out with that program once you get registered with your animal. And so so we hope to do it this year and continue doing it next year. So anyway, so that's enough. But that's one. So if you think, well, what can we do now? We can't really go visit. Well, we're doing virtual visits. So a lot safer, and it's a lot easier transporting those llamas. You just have to walk down to the barn.
That's right. And
All right.
speaking of llamas, we can move on to our next slide, Kristen. And we've got Michaela and Fred. Now, Michaela, I know, is in college right now, but I know that she's still working with Fred quite consistently. Fred is a 4-H llama through the Carver County Llama Program, and he excels in doing obstacle and PR courses. He's got a super laid-back personality, and he really enjoys company with Zoe. He likes people watching at the state fair. And Michaela just commented that they were super excited to be part of this program and meet new people. And Michaela continued her work with her dog, Ariat. Ariat was a rescue from the Best Friends Animal Society based out of Utah. Just has a calm and a very gentle nature. And as she commented, motivated by belly rubs. And that's probably familiar to all of you who have dogs. You're all motivated by those good belly and chest rubs.
So do you mind if I interrupt just for a sec?
Yeah.
I found out last night on our social time with NSTA that Michaela's mother, Jennifer, was on the NSTA kind of social hour that we did last night. And she is leasing her llamas. Yeah, now it's Carver County. Does she live in?
Yes. No, I'm sorry. She's on the edge of Hennepin, I think.
Okay.
So technically it's Hennepin, but they participate in Carver County.
So Michaela's mother, Michaela's at college at the U now, and she's looking for other handlers so that you could go out, and your parent would have to go with you, of course. But when we start visiting in person again, that you would go out with her because the llamas like to visit in twos. And without her daughter, Michaela, she's got to get some other handlers up and running. 4-H youth would be great. So she's a 4-H mom, and you lease the llama. You pay a monthly fee, and you go out and you feed it, groom it, train it, walk it around under supervision, and so you can talk with her. Maybe Annalisa can send you the information, if that's okay. So if your dog doesn't work out, lead a llama around is pretty fun. I've been testing him for the last 2 years as a sidekick to the person who knows more than me, but they're very cool animals. So anyways, that's another thought.
Thank you, Patty. That's great. All right, and then we've got Riley and Oreo. Riley was thrilled to pass the evaluation with her mini lop named Oreo, an appropriate name for a black and white bun. And you can see the photo of the new therapy team there on the right. And we can move on to the next slide. And in our second and third year, we acquired a few more teams. So Avery and Sweet Pea. Sweet Pea's a little guinea pig. Brooke and Chili, and you can see the photo of Brooke and Chili right here. Chili the cat kind of chilling in her arms. Flora and her cat, and then Ryan and Jazz, another guinea pig. And so that brings us to this point of species, right? What are all of the animals? There's 9 different species that can be registered with pet partners. So we've got dogs, cats, rabbits, guinea pigs, llamas and alpacas, miniature horses, potbelly pigs, parrots, and rats. And it used to be that you could do chickens as well, but because of salmonella issues, they have narrowed it down, I think almost exclusively now to parrots. Is that correct, Patty? That it's only parrots, or?
It kind of depends on the bird, and so they kind of take it bird by bird.
Okay.
But more the larger birds, because the smaller ones are too fragile.
Right. Thank you. So I know that most of you showed up here today with your puppy, and that's great. You have one of these animals. How do you know if therapy animal work is right for you? Well, as the human, it's good to remain curious, often good to be patient. There's all sorts of situations that crop up, right? Calm and watchful, paying attention to both the scenario, paying attention to your animal deeply, and then also paying attention to yourself and observing what your needs are. You should have a desire to share yourself and your animal with others, a desire to help facilitate a connection between humans and animals. And then, of course, you need to be 10+ years old. And of course, adults can try it too. Where did that other slide go? Oh, sorry, skip down one more if you would, Chris. All right, so you have one of these animals, right? What about your animal? Well, it would be good if your animal was calm and attentive, right? So they were generally calm and they paid very close attention to you, their handler. And then, of course, no matter the species, your animal has to enjoy attention from strangers, right? That's kind of what this work is all about, that all these other people may come and pet your animal. And so they need to be receptive to that. A no bite history, and then be relatively unfazed by loud noises or different environments, right? Because they're just happy to be with you wherever you happen to be and to go. Now, that saying, we wouldn't necessarily bring our rabbit or maybe a rat or any of the other really small animals that tend to be prey animals into any and every situation. We would also want to choose our visiting scenario very carefully to provide a good experience for the animal as well. Because if your animal's not happy, right, that's not going to provide a healing environment or situation for the folks that we're actually visiting. So paying attention to that, that's part of the education that you'll get and the online program with pet partners is learning how to read your animal, learning how to read the environment, and then marrying all of that together. Okay, we can move on to our next slide. So the benefits of being a youth therapy team, right? We become more responsible because we're working on scheduling, we're working on communication, and we're working on follow through on visits. Okay, we learn to advocate, right? So there's 2 different terms that are related to that. We're advocating for ourselves and certainly with our animal. There's yayaba and then there's pets, and you'll learn a little bit more about that also in the training. But becoming your animal's best advocate. Okay, we develop social skills. We challenge ourselves to speak up on behalf of ourselves and our animals, and then of course to connect with community members as well. We build self-esteem. Each success is a learning experience that compounds into self-confidence. We're also looking at a resume builder, right? Volunteer work always looks good on resumes. It looks great on college applications. And this kind of volunteer work shows that you went the extra mile to serve in your community. And it's also an opportunity to connect with other youth, to meet and to grow with others, and to befriend other youth in your county that may have similar interests. And then last, but certainly not least, but it's an opportunity to have fun, right? Usually when we choose this work, it's because we think there's something fun, and it's always so good to give and to share. But it's also great to connect with other people and to hear their stories and to see the impact that your animal, just the simple joy of your animal, has on another human being. It can be very, very profound. There's one little story I like to share. We were at a library with Blue, and this little girl had come around the corner and she was just stunned that there was a live animal at the library. So she chooses a book and she sits down next to Blue and she reads the book. You know, she was only, I think, 3 or 4. She was explaining the pictures to him, really. And then she was just petting Blue and marveling at how soft he was. And then she got up, she ran back over to her grandmother, and then she came back again. And before long, they had to leave. Well, to leave, she was blowing Blue kisses and thanking him. And it was just such a precious experience. And that makes a really big impact on any child when they're younger. And hopefully you can establish those relationships where they come back and continue to read again and again, practicing their reading skills and really growing. And I know Patty has lots of other stories that had a huge impact on community members as well. Let's move on to the next slide. So moving forward. So in the past, what that looked like was library and reading programs like what I was sharing with you and what Aurora really wanted to do. There's nursing home visits. Kirsten took the llamas to a nursing home. There are youth programs and where you bring your animals and the youth also learn about it. Usually it's kind of a therapeutic setting. And then of course, local events like Hooked on Books is a phenomenal literacy program that they offer in Chanhassen and has lots of people visiting. I'm imagining that's going to be very different this year because currently there are all sorts of protocols that are in place and visits are taking some interesting twists. We've got those virtual visits that Patty was talking about. So reading with children, teens, and college students and nursing homes virtually. We've got window visits and even sometimes some drive-by parades. So the dogs are parading by windows, but also, well, Patty, I should have you speak about this because I haven't participated in any of the window visits or the parades. So I should let you talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so they've done over 100 since COVID started, and so on window visits you might have your dog do, and tricks can be just sit down, stay, you know, it doesn't have to be like jumping through flaming hoops or something, just so, you know, just anything, just the dog moving, not just sitting, everybody staring at each other. And what we found out, there's if you guys look on the internet for lick mats on Amazon Prime or something, lick mats, there's pages and pages of them, but they're suction cups and they stick to the windows. And they were originally meant for groomers. You put them like in the bathtub, and when you wash your dog, they stay put because you squeeze Cheese Whiz or peanut butter on it, the plastic, and then the dog sits and licks it like that. So we have all these different lick mats that we stick on the windows, and so then the person just has great fun watching the dog enjoying licking the licking the peanut butter off the lick mat. So I mean, there's not much training involved if your dog likes to eat. Raise your hand if your dog likes to eat. Yeah, there you go. In fact, you should get one anyways right now. It'd be on those boring days you can't get them out and it's too cold, give them a lick mat, it'll tire them out. And so and then the dog parades, they walk social distance, everybody's masked, and they walk around the facility. So people they're isolated in their own rooms. Usually they can't go out into public areas, but they can wave to the dogs from their window and they can watch the dogs as they walk by. So they've done about 100 of those now, North Star. And so it's great fun. And now with winter, we're not stopping, we're pursuing it. We're Minnesotans, right? Put those dog
That's right.
coats on them.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so this is where your handout comes in. And so just refer to your handout if you have any other questions. Briefly, I'll just review the procedures and the next steps. If you determine that this is something that you want to do, then your next step, and you feel like your animal would also be a good fit for that, then your next step would be to participate in the online training through Pet Partners. Now, the fee for that is $70. In Carver County, our federation has offered some support, and we have purchased and agreed to buy for families the online training just to help families with that cost. Now, you can talk to your federation in your county and see if there are funds that are available for such a thing. And alternatively, you can do a little bit of fundraising to help offset those costs. Now, when you buy in bulk, so for example, I'm speaking specifically to Hennepin County since so many folks are from Hennepin. You can buy a package of at least 5 from Pet Partners, and then you get a discount on the online training. And it's only around $10 per training, but every little bit helps, right? So I would encourage you, once you pursue that route, and I can talk to you more if you've got specific questions about that. You've got to go in and create an account with Pet Partners. You allow 2 weeks to complete the training. And I say that because everybody's spending so much time online these days that we all get a little bit burned out. But allow the 2 weeks to complete the training, and that allows the information to sink in and makes it really real for you as you're working with your animal. Once that is complete, you've got 1 year to evaluate. All right. And I don't know that that has changed with current COVID protocols, but Patty, please speak up.
Nobody's tested anybody since I think the last one was September. Maybe one person tested 2 dogs, but other than that, since COVID, we've all shut down. There's about 15 evaluators in the state, and I'm an evaluator. And we just all decided, there's no in-person visiting except at the airport right now officially. They let therapy dogs in, but otherwise nobody else is because of COVID. So Pet Partners has given us all free registrations for another year. So I think it's going to be a work in progress. I might want to add that North Star Therapy Animals just came up with a youth scholarship. So if you get your badge, they will send a check to your parents for $70 to pay for the online. So if you're a youth, age 18 or under, but you have to pass, you don't have to join North Star. It's not an incentive to join North Star. It's just that we want to get more youth out here doing this kind of work. The kids love seeing Aurora at the Plymouth Library. They just are thrilled to see another teenager reading to these little kids. I mean, they're just, you guys are their heroes. And so anyway, so so nobody's evaluating, and we do free evaluations. You don't have to pay for the test for 4-H kids when we come out to the facility that we've been using, the extension center. And then parents, this is the good news. Once the kids have their badge, you have $2 million worth of liability insurance. Okay. And nobody in our group of 210 people, and we've been around for 15 years, building in membership, starting with 50 people and it's building up, but no one has ever had to file for insurance money, to get insurance money, because it's a very good program. And we have, luckily, knock on wood, we haven't had anything happen. So, but that's it. And you would have to go with your child if they're underneath the age 16 or less, or be with them on the Zoom call or whatever for that. Everybody has a background check. And then the fee for pet partners, Annalisa will be telling you in a minute. But the evaluations, then I would say, if we called them and let them know that everybody's got their online done and we'd like to evaluate, probably not looking at it until the vaccines come for the COVID and things get under control, like this summer testing.
Let's see.
Yeah.
So what does evaluation mean? I'm sorry, I don't.
Okay, so that's a really great question. So there's an online component. So that's the $70 one. Takes 3 to 4 hours to do, but like Annalisa said, spread it out a little bit. And then so you have to do the online. There's 2 parts: becoming a registered team with that insurance. And then the other part is an in-person test that an evaluator would give you. And there's 20 exercises, even for the guinea pigs. They don't have to do jumping jacks or anything. They just have to stay quiet in their bed, not run around and hide and look like they're terrified, you know, that type of thing for the rabbits and guinea pigs. But for the dogs, it's pretty much sit, stay, down, come, walk through a crowd without jumping on people. Don't pick up the toy on the floor when you walk past it, they leave it. If 3 people come all at one time, we want to see the handler say, hey, you guys, how about petting my dog one at a time? Because how many of us would like to have 3 people come and start talking to us at one time? The dogs need to, you know, focus on one person at a time. And and then the evaluator has to brush the dog, and they can't like bite the brush or us, pick up their feet, look at their toenails. So pretty much that's the test, just to see that they're safe in the public, you know, and that they mind you, that they're not jumping on people and running all over the place and going potty and all that. So there's an in-person test, and that's called an evaluation. Does that make sense? Any other questions on that?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Okay.
usually,
I didn't know what that meant.
no.
Like a list of things?
Annalisa and I have done this for 4 years, and we kind of, well, I've been doing this for 20 years, but you kind of forget, because a team means the dog and the person. That when we say teams.
Okay.
So that's another one people go, what are you talking about? We kind of forget.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And you know, you're getting a lot free, because to join North Star, if you wanted to, you don't have to, but it's $25 a year. And youth would be free. And then usually tests in the cities run $15 to $20 just to take the test, the evaluation. And so that's waived, that fee is waived for the kids. So we're trying to make it as cost effective as possible. But I don't know, you guys, my son was in soccer, and we were out $180 with all the soccer gear. I can't imagine football or hockey moms. I'm telling you, that's a lot of money. And this is giving back to people that I mean, it's just like, you know, I won't go into stories, but like Annalisa said, just amazing stories, you know, of how you're helping in your community make it a better place. And so.
Yeah. Thank you, Patty.
Okay.
So I'm going to go back to point number 2, just to register for the evaluation after your online training is complete. And you, in the training is so well done that they show you've got videos to watch, you've got different things so that you can see what is expected of you. But the evaluation, as Patty mentioned, is an experience where you go and you're literally evaluated by an evaluator who watches your interactions and watches your animal very, very carefully to make sure that it really is a good fit for both you, the individual, and your animal. And once you pass that evaluation, and then there's a whole piece on training around that too. There's lots of videos online, there's lots of education around that and what would be expected of you. So once all of that is complete, you then have 3 months to finalize your registration through Pet Partners. And then of course that evaluation, as Patty mentioned, is offered through 4-H. We haven't figured out the logistics of it yet with the COVID protocols, and that will just come down the pipeline. And then your third step is to complete your registration with Pet Partners, and that includes that liability insurance. And in our program, we have asked families to carry that cost because you are the ones that benefit from that insurance. Now, to register a youth, it's $50 per year. Or sorry, $50 per registration. And that's good for 2 years. And that's yeah, that $1 million policy that helps to cover you and your family should there ever be an incident. So for example, a scratch or possibly even a nip, heaven forbid. But simple things like that, that somebody could raise a question about. And then, of course, that fourth step would be the NSTA orientation and involvement, which is complimentary, thanks to NSTA. And that's if you want to pursue that. That's the organization that's going to give you the opportunity to connect with all of the places that are doing the drive-by visits currently, the dog parades or the virtual visits. Okay.
We have a question we were a little slow on the trigger with, but
That's
could we
okay.
ask the question?
Please.
We were wondering if we were thinking about using either our dog or a neighbor's dog that we might know for the program. If one dog fails the evaluation, can we try again with another dog without paying $70 again, or how does that work? And yeah, and do you have that? Has that come up before where people will find a different pet to go through the program with after taking the initial training?
I'm going to let Patty answer this one because she's the evaluator and she'll be able to address those for you.
Yes, am I talking to Carl?
Yeah, this is Gabby's dad.
Hi, hi, Gabby's dad. Hi, Carl. Yes, and so yes to your answer. If one animal doesn't, really want to do this and it doesn't go so well, then yes, you can test again. And the nice thing is you never pay the $70 again. It's upfront training. That there's 3 national organizations been around since the 80s. This is the best one. They're in international groups. They're the top speakers. They've got conferences. They've got all kinds of education. They've got a whole bunch of stuff we don't want to overwhelm you with if you want to get really into all this. So they've got all kinds of free things, lots of free webinars. It's really great. But they just want everybody to have upfront the same information going into this. And so the online training, unless you quit doing it for over 2 years, then you have to take it again, but they give you a discount. So if you keep, I haven't paid for 20 years because I keep doing this, right? But if I let it lapse for 2 years and I didn't do it, then I'd have to take it over again. But yes, and so the only deal is if you have somebody else's animal, like you lease a llama or you have your neighbor's dog or something, you have to know the dog for 6 months. So you have to, or the llama. If you started leasing the llama now, you'd have to work with them for at least 6 months and really know them, not just go over there twice or something, really know the animal to work with it. And I've had other friends, I've got 4 guinea pigs, a rabbit, and 3 dogs. And so I have different friends have gotten registered, gotten to know my guinea pigs when we go out and visit and everything. And they've registered with my guinea pigs. And so I can bring 2 with, and one can be visiting while I'm visiting with another one. And so that it's kind of fun.
And
But,
Gabby had the good fortune of doing some dog walking for neighbor dogs. So she actually knows a lot of dogs in the neighborhood.
That is great. Yeah. And if she already knows the dog for 6 months, then you're in good shape because the dog will respond really well to her. Yeah. Very good. So did that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carl.
It looked like in the chat there was one other question. I'm trying to remember what it was exactly. Something about, do you have to repay that? So as a parent and a child, you have to pay $140. You could always apply to NSTA for a youth grant or scholarship, I suppose, and that would reduce that cost for you. Like I said, in Carver County, we've set it up so that the county, through the Federation, is covering the cost of the online training for youth. So that ultimately the only cost that the family is bearing is the registration fee with pet partners. That's the part that includes your liability insurance. So for a youth, it's $50. For an adult, it's 90 for 2 years. So I'm not sure if that answered the question.
You know, Annalisa, I might want to jump in just for a sec. Parents, when you go with your child someplace, you just have to be a parent. Okay.
Right.
So you don't have to do anything or, you know, do anything special or anything. You just have to kind of be there with them and supervise. But if you wanted to hold the leash to the dog, like even if your child wanted to go to the bathroom or something and not bring the dog with, and you grab the leash, you have no insurance and you could get your badge taken away. That's against the rules to hand your leash off to anybody. Your dog goes with you to the bathroom. Your dog goes with you every place when you go visit. And so if you wanted to be a handler, then you'd have to go through the online and pay the costs yourself, and get registered with that. Otherwise, you don't have to fuss with that. You can just go with them. But if you wanted to actually do some visiting, say your child is busy during some sports season or play season or something, and you wanted to take your dog out to go visit, you'd have to get your own badge and go through the online all by yourself. The kids would help you though. They're good at helping us online. Sorry, I can't throw that in there.
Thank you, Patty. Hopefully that answered that question for the person in the chat. Okay. So the next slide is simply asking if you have questions. Does anybody have any further questions beyond what we have just shared? And then also that shares my email address so that you can contact me and I can either answer your question or point you in the right direction to help you figure out how you want to move forward.
I do have one question.
Mhm.
So this is my last year in 4-H as like a kid. I'm 18 and I'm a freshman in college. So I'm wondering, so since we have to delay such like evaluations and stuff, and the evaluations are free for the 4-H kids, I'm wondering how that would kind of go if we do them in the summer, and if I have to pay for that or not.
Well, like Patty mentioned, it's only around $10 or $15, and what that fee goes to, because the evaluators are volunteers, often they have to rent a facility to be able to do the test. So that fee simply goes to paying for the facility, as opposed to being a fee for paying the evaluator, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes a lot.
Yep. And depending on what unfolds this coming spring, you would still be able, I think, to come and participate in the evaluator, in the evaluation, whatever it is that we end up setting up. Because you're in 4-H currently, so and you're in there until August, right?
September 1.
Even though this is your final year.
Yep. Your year would end September 1, so you'd be at least through the summer.
Ah, okay.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. 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 Thank you for asking that question.
Do you know what school you're going to go to yet?
Oh, I'm already going to the University of Minnesota.
Oh, so have you ever stopped by the PAWS program, Pet Away Worry and Stress?
No. The only reason I'm on campus is to do my animal science lab, and then I just go back home. So I'm not really at campus all that often.
So I'll tell you what, I'll find the link, because they're doing virtual visits now, and any of you kids can visit the PAWS program. And Tanya, the person that you saw at the beginning of the slide with the chicken, she's in charge of it at the U. She's on staff. And people with registered therapy animals go through a short intro training with her. She only offers it like twice a year, and then anybody on campus can come and pet these animals, and she has from, you know, the rabbit, a lot of rabbits, cats, the miniature horses come, and dogs, and so, you know, your parent could bring down your dog. You could I'll volunteer your parent here. But you know, and then you could be a part of that program, or you could help with that program, and it'd be great great to have that happen. So how about if we, Annalisa, if we send, I'll send you the link, and then you can send it out to the kids that are, oh, there we are, hi.
Sure.
The kids that
It's easier.
are all here, and you guys can do a virtual, actually a real virtual visit with the University of Minnesota animal, because there's a lot of our friends that Annalisa and I know from North Star that are doing this. It's not just North Star, it's a bunch of people, but
Right.
I think that would be kind of fun. You guys, don't you think that'd be fun to meet somebody and see how it goes and see how it looks? So that'd be great. The other thing, I want to send out a link through Annalisa too. It's really important. There's a few more details we don't want to overwhelm you with, no more money details, but there's a webinar that's free on the Pet Partners website, and we'll send you, you have to kind of register, you just register your email, and it's like everything else, you know, your name, email, that's all you do to register, you know, to get into the website. Create a password, and then but there's a really good webinar. It's, I don't know, half an hour, but it has more of the details. And like for the dog test, instead of me just quickly whipping off all these, you know, things for the dog test, it will kind of walk you through what the dog test looks like. And I can send the link. It's a new link I just got that's really hard to find. It's buried in the website someplace, I don't know, but I can it's a brand new video of all those 20 exercises for all your dogs, so you can start practicing to that. Okay, so I think that might be helpful for you. And then should I talk about the virtual dog training right now? Yeah, Lisa.
Well, we could, yeah. I don't know that we've chosen a date or any of that, but you could talk about that if folks are interested.
Okay. Well, I tentatively I had put down January 27th, and like an hour and a half virtual dog training on Zoom, where you bring your dogs. I watch you. I do this for a living. I was a school counselor like over 20 years, and then when I kind of semi-retired, I'm a CPDT, and I evaluate about, I don't know, 100 animals a year. I think I'm up to now, but anyway, so I do this. I'm on staff at Agile Canines, but I'm not doing in person as of today. I just made that decision to not do that for a while. But if you want to, free is no charge, and we can get you going and see where you're at with that. So would that date work for all your parents and kids and everything on Wednesday night, late in January? And then that way you can get through the holidays and stuff. But raise your hand if that would be okay, and we can put that on the calendar then. Okay, so I'll send that date out with Annalisa. Oh, we'll send a really nice long email here with all this information. And then, does anybody have an animal other than a dog at all, or does everybody have a dog?
I think there's just Blue here over my shoulder.
Yeah,
That's another
he's a professional. Oh, look at that, Aurora. is she right there?
She's right here. She doesn't want to
Aurora,
stick
come out and say hi. Come here. Let's see Blue. I want to see Blue. Okay, I want to see you too. Okay. There. Do you want? It's Aurora. Tell the kids a little bit about Blue.
Cute. This is Blue, and he's a 5 or 6 year old lion head, and he likes going to the libraries where kids read to him.
Yeah. He's a good boy, isn't he?
Also sad.
Yeah.
That's a question I had, Patty. Is there a like average age of the dog that usually goes well in this program, or is it just very dog specific?
It's dog specific. However, being a dog trainer for 20 years, I was on staff at the Humane Society and worked with shelter dogs too, you know, so there's a general kind of sense that everybody has. But yes, usually around age 2 is when they kind of start hitting their adult DNA. Yeah, and they're kind of goofy until then. I don't know about any of you with your dogs, but you know, The calmest dog, there's a 1-year-old golden retriever. It's a very good friend of mine. He's been doing this for a long time. This is like her third dog. And I said, are you sure the vet says he's okay? Because he's a golden retriever. He's a year old and we're testing him and he's like a walking carpet. I mean, he's just like, you know, and he's always been like that. She and I, a cool thing that Kathy and I have been doing for the last 4 years is going to our church. The homeless families stay at our church about every 3 months, and they stay for a whole week while they take the parents out. Families Moving Forward is the name of the program. And so we go because these poor little homeless kids, they don't have pets, you know, and they don't get to pet animals. So Kathy and I have been doing that for a number of years at our church. We just created the program, and you guys, you can just create your own thing, you know, if you've got a place of worship. And you know, I also did for a while the special needs Sunday school classes too. I'd bring my husky in and then the kids would pet the husky and stuff, but it's very cool. But I you know, it just depends on the dog. And the oldest dog I've tested is an 11-year-old Rhodesian Ridgeback, and that dog was very healthy, visited for another year, and then had some health issues. And my terrier just retired. He's 15 and a half. He retired at age 15 when COVID started. He was at the VA and doing great. Still peppy, still barking at the squirrels, eating treats, getting into trouble.
Because
You know?
he's a year old, he's very exuberant. Amanda, I see you're on here. You could probably speak to Marty's exuberance as well. But he loves meeting people. So it's kind of that balance of
and you know, and every dog's gonna be different because my 2 huskies, I was showing the kids, you know, my 2 huskies. So Loki, this one be terrible at the airport, but this one will be great because he's too hyper. He needs a really calm environment because too much noise and too much action makes him, you know, like that. But
Yeah, me too.
yeah, you too. Yeah, but you know, and some dogs just thrive on that and they just love that, you know, and it just depends. You know, but the other dog is just, nothing phases her. She doesn't care about anything, and just, you know, all heck can be breaking loose and she's the calm in the middle of the tornado. And so it just kind of depends on it. And he's 8 years old and she's not even 2 yet. So, you know, and they're both huskies and one's calm and one's hyper, and I don't know. So it just depends on the dog. But I'd say 2 is a good thing. But you know, you can test them from age 1, dogs. Age 1 on up to however old. So yeah, good questions, you guys. Any other questions for Annalisa or me?
sorry, one
Peter, do you have a question?
like-
sorry, apologize. Wait.
Nope. Okay.
Just scratching there.
Okay.
I don't know, it gets to be a long day on the computer, doesn't it? Anybody else have a question for any of us up here?
I have a question.
Okay.
Great.
So what would the next steps be? I was just looking at the pet website. How often do they offer that training?
So
can we
So the online, you can take any time. It's your preference. It's always there. And you can work on it. It saves where you are. So it takes most people 3 to 4 hours total. Don't do it all at one time. So you can do 20 minutes, pick it up maybe 3 weeks later, do an hour and a half, you know, and so you can just stop and start. So at any time you can take the online training. I might recommend you maybe start, you know, after the holidays settle down, because everything's kind of crazy right now. And then the closer we get to the dog training, if you guys can make it to the dog training, and if everybody wants, I can do another virtual dog training in another couple weeks to see how you're doing, so you practice. And so then you kind of have an understanding. So if, you know, mid-January or later, I really want you to assess whether your dog will like doing this. I don't want you to go through all this and then be disappointed. And so, so watching the webinar, they kind of walk you through, really important to watch that webinar, because then they've got some other little things. They can't be on antifungals permanently, or like prednisone or anything permanently. So there's some other real detaily things too. So you just want to make sure that your dog would enjoy this, that they're not scared, or that they're, you know, not ever going to calm down. So, because, you know, you don't want the dog to jump on somebody with a walker and break their hip or something, you know, you just, you know, you want to make sure. So they have to be, what Pet Finder says, 3 things. Is my dog reliable? Is my dog controllable verbally? That is, okay. And is my dog predictable? Do I kind of know what my dog's going to do in different situations? You don't want to find out when you're visiting at the airport that your dog is freaked out about wheeled things and chases or chase. Oh, the best one is I have a walker with tennis balls on, you guys, for my dog class. And we've got some of the retrievers that are really obsessed with the tennis ball. Then they chase the walker when somebody's walking and try to grab the ball. So that's probably not a good thing. So we practice on that. So they have to be controllable. And so the thing is, you have to use equipment for any of the 3 national groups. That you can't use a choke collar, a pinch, a prong, a shock collar. You have to use you know, just like a buckle collar. They talk about this in the webinar. Buckle collar, a harness, either front or back attachment, doesn't matter. Limited slip collar, also called the martingale. That's fabric, and it might be just a little bit of a slip here. It might be really loose, and then when you pull it, it doesn't get that tight. So those are also okay. Gentle leaders and head halters are okay. You know, it's like almost like a horse's halter that goes around. You know, you have the most control of your dog. If you have a real hyper dog, it's not a bad thing to do to have that dog in a gentle leader, because it's almost instant dog training with the gentle leaders. If they're fit the right way, sometimes it's really hard to get them to fit exactly right. If they fit the right way and you kind of follow the instructions and stuff, yeah. And so equipment makes a big difference with a lot of these dogs, but those are also okay to use. So this webinar will talk through all that detailed stuff. So we'll send that information out to make sure you have that. It's so much fun though. I've got to tell you, my son applied to 7 colleges and he got into 6 and on the waiting list for the 7th place. I don't know why he did that many, but he did anyways. But I think part of it, twice he got called in for special interviews because they wanted to talk about the therapy animal stuff. He was, you know, grew up with me. So of course he's got all these animals we're bringing every place. So I mean, it just is interesting. I'm not saying that that's going to be everybody's story, but it just, but his growth, and he was a little shy, and it really brought him out of his shyness. And now he's 29 and lives in Vermont, and you know, not so shy anymore. He plays banjo and sings in a band. So it's all good. Yeah. So anyways, but it is very rewarding. It's worth it. And it's great for the dog too. You know, it's going to be a long winter. You know, and they get bored, and they really like to please us, and they want to train. They don't they? Don't they like to do stuff with you? I mean, anybody have a dog that follows them around the house? We got 3 of them. They're always like, "What are you doing now? What can we do now?" So, and then when we do the dog training too, I've got class I'm teaching through community eds too. And is your dog driving you crazy? So I can pull some of those fun game things for you to play with your dog that help with obedience training, but it's kind of a fun thing to do in the winter. So it doesn't have to be boring for the humans and the dogs. There's some really fun things we can do. So, but I think just get through all the holidays and the worst of this, and then we hit the ground running, and then just play it by ear. We got to wait to see about the pandemic and when we can't even get into the space where we test right now. Right, Annalisa?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. So we've covered a lot of ground here tonight.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you guys have gotten a lot of good information, right? Emily, do you have another question? Nope, you're just getting ready to say goodbye? Yeah, I gotcha. All right, so I want to thank Patty for coming, and for Annalisa for putting all this great information, and all of you for jumping in. And oh, look at that dog. He's just like, I'm captivated.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd want to share is just look up the Pet Partners website and just peruse it. Just poke through and see if this is really compelling to you, if this is what you really feel like you'd like to pursue. There's lovely stories in there that talk about the human-animal bond and different adventures with their animals. And then let me know if you have any questions, and I can follow up with you. Okay, and then Chris, you're gonna send out this recording to everybody?
I can send out a link to the recording. I can send out
Perfect.
the the slides. We
Yep.
can send out the handout again because I feel like more people showed up than earlier today that were signed up. So I think I may we'll just give it all back out. We're gonna send it
Okay.
all out so everybody's got all the information. And then
Sounds
as we do more stuff, we'll keep you informed and you can touch base with us if you'd like to. And you have Annalise's email, you'll have all the stuff. You'll have all the stuff. It's all good.
That's it.
Oh, okay. So I'm gonna stop recording now.